enough to talk about the wettest bottoms and the hottest crotches.
No, stop.
We're talking about hot crotches today on Glass Cannon Radio.
Things are warming out there. The summer's coming. Let's talk about wet crotches.
Yeah, who's going to have a brat summer? Is that something?
Is that a thing?
What was a hot girl summer? And then I think there was a brat summer. What's this summer going to be? What's the hot new pop song? Call in and tell me, because I am 71 years old. That's how I feel sometimes.
We spent I'd say 80% of our pre-show today just complaining about technology. So we definitely sounded old. Very, very old.
And my wife is very sick of hearing me complain about technology. Every time my iPhone gets an update, I'm like, oh, darn it. This gad burn thing. And then I pour water over it.
I liked it the old way.
I liked it the old way. Well, I do sometimes. I go, nothing was wrong with how it was. or Discord. When Discord, it's like, okay, it's a social media app that updates every time you open it. What that doesn't happen when I use Instagram. Discord can't figure out a way to make the updates not all, I don't know. Call in and explain it to me. This is the show where you call in and explain technology to Joe and I.
Yes, please. We need it.
How was your Memorial Day, Joe O'Brien?
Oh, it was fantastic. I was on tour. Went to Ann Arbor, Michigan, and Toronto, Canada. Did a little international trip, so that was awesome. Yeah. My actual Memorial Day was great because I just rested. It was just like a rest day after all that traveling, and we're going to talk about it today as part of the show. We're going to do a little Nerd Travelogue segment where I talk about our trip to Ann Arbor, and particularly an amazing game store experience I had, which includes getting a couple new games I'm going to talk about. So I'm looking forward to the old Nerd Travelogue today.
That's great. Actually, let's go into all of our topics today. And as always, you can call in if you'd like. Just become a subscriber, get on our Discord, go to the Glass Cannon Radio stage, and raise your hand, and we will let you weigh in on today's topics, which are... First, we're going to talk about what makes a great player when you're playing RPGs. What makes a great player? Then we are going to rank. We're doing my offenses rank. Today, we are ranking sports movies. I swore I would never let sports into the show, but it's Joe and McDee's show too, so here it is. Then this is a caller-led segment. We want to know about your obscure obsession. What's the thing you're really into that no one else has heard of? And you will get bonus points, not that it's a game, if no one really has ever heard of it.
Yeah, and it's not going to be that hard for me to not have heard of it, but that's your first bar. I think your second bar is Jared not having heard of it. Third bar is the entire audience, and then fourth bar is McD. If McD has never heard of it, then that's a very impressive little obsession you have. So I want you to start thinking about those fringe corners of pop culture and hobbies that you're into that your friends aren't so much, that you'd like to let us know about.
Yeah, finally you get to talk about it. Can't wait to hear about your favorite 90s manga. All right, and then we'll have the Nerd Travelogue, as Joe mentioned, and then I will have a little editorial, a little GM Fiat at the end.
Love a good GM Fiat. It's been too long.
Yeah, I have some GM complaints. I have so many complaints. It's really my motivating force in life, to be honest. And I love, like, on the socials, people are starting to ask me, hey, Jared, what do you hate more? Do you hate this or do you hate this? And I'm like, I don't hate it. I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty much a hater. Yeah.
As it turns out, you hate most things.
I hate a lot of things.
I also wanted to mention, we talked about joining the Naish, becoming a member to join our Discord, which you can do for free with the code GCN30. You can call into the show and you can talk about your favorite sports movies. You can talk about what players do that is great in your games that other players should pick up on and try to do. But you can also, if you become a member at the Vorpal tier, We're doing Talk Nerdy Town Hall tomorrow. Remember that, Jared?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Talk
Of course
Nerdy Town
I
Hall. Talk Nerdy Town Hall is tomorrow, 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific, running up to the premiere of the Glass Cannon podcast. Jared and I, and if we can grab a few friends, we just hang out on Discord. Off the record, not broadcast, just with Vorpal subscribers, and we bring you up and chat with you and stuff. And
seriously, it's off the record. So if I say anything,
yeah,
it's like Vegas.
Yes,
it stays in the Talk Nerdy Town Hall.
Yes. All right. With that said, let's get into it. Kick us off.
Let's get into it. Today we're going to talk about what makes a great player, and it's interesting because we kind of touched on this. It might have been last week when I asked you 3 questions. Like, what did I said? What makes the best player? And we thought, well, this could be an entire segment. So I definitely had some opinions on this. But I would like to know, Joe, last time you said knowledge of the rules, which I thought was a great answer. And it's not the answer I would have given. So it even surprised me a little bit. But what else do you think makes a great player when you're playing TTRPGs?
Obviously, this is a massive list. The way that I'll introduce this, and also I want to say hi to those of you that are in chat and Discord and in Twitch right now that I met this weekend. It was so awesome meeting some of you. I recognize some of your names here today. We'll get into that a little bit more, hopefully, in the Nerd Travelogue. But so good to see you guys. This is a big one. This is a big topic. And the way that I'd like to introduce it is to simply say, I honestly can't think of too many things, especially in the hobbyist realm, that are more challenging than being a good RPG player. Like, there are a lot of stipulations to this. And so what I want to say
I can think of one thing, being a GM.
Well, yes. Yeah. But I mean, you're talking about a pool of people that are... GMs are sort of held to a certain standard. Players kind of aren't. And so you have to be responsible to kind of bring all this to the table. And all I really want to say is I made an exhaustive list of things. I don't think it's reasonable to assume a given person can do all of these things.
Right.
And also do as I say, not as I do, right? So, I make mistakes as a player that shine to me when I listen to a recording, and so those things are in here as well. So this isn't Joe's class on how to do it because I know how to do it so well. It's when I think as a GM, what works best out of a player, or what are these certain attributes I see out of this player on the Glass Cannon Network or this player on the Glass Cannon Network. Let me cherry pick here and there the things that they do best that I aspire to do. So that's my little intro into what this list is.
No, that's great. And when we're talking about these things, I actually only came up with one big one that I want to talk about. But if a player does some of these things, they're probably a great player, Yeah. And if they can avoid some of the pitfalls, which I'm glad that you said maybe you're going to go into pitfalls. I definitely have been playing more recently. And just to kind of walk back what I said a minute about being a GM being harder, it is very hard to be a player. It is, there's a skill to it. There's a flow to it that it can be hard to get into, especially when you're dealing with a complex game like Pathfinder, for example, where you're kind of waiting for your turn. You're trying to pick the optimal move. And then the person before you does something that totally blows up what you were about to do. Oh my gosh. How many times has it come to my turn since I've been playing recently? And I'm like, but I got nothing, you got to figure it out on the spot. So being a player is hard.
It's hard because remember the big thing, and this is why I really have grown to enjoy GMing a lot more than playing, is because, and I thoroughly enjoy playing, let me be clear on that, but there's one thing, particularly when it comes to games like Delta Green, Call of Cthulhu, that really jump out to me, and that is when you're a player, you are operating with all the spotlight on you and imperfect information. When you're the GM, the spotlight's on you, but you control everything. You decide everything. So there's a lot less. Now, there's a ton of pressure there, of course, that you put on yourself. You want to, you want your friends to have a good time. You want to look good in front of your friends. I get that. But with a player, it's so difficult, especially in a mystery game, to just feel like you're constantly grasping at straws and you don't know what to do. It can be challenging and frustrating. And so we want to talk about, I don't know, all the things. I made an exhaustive list, honestly. So I'll start with a couple things. How about that? Since you just have one big one, and we'll see if I hit on any of those.
Okay, great.
So the first thing that I said last time was knowledge of the rules. And you kind of put me on the spot on that. And I loved that question. And you know what? After a week to think about it, I still love that answer. Now, it comes with a lot of, caveats. And I believe I said this a little bit last week, but rules knowledge is very, very high on my list because it is also indicative of so many other things. Rules knowledge is indicative of commitment to the game, which is very, very important. Rules knowledge is also indicative of preparation for the game. The GM has to prepare, but players have to prepare too. You don't just show up and say, entertain me for 4 hours. That's not the GM's job. Yeah. You got to prepare. And so rules knowledge is a really kind of big part of that. And if you have that base, so many other things will sprout off of that. It'll be easier for you to relax and play. It'll be easier for you to streamline the game. It'll be easier for you to feel confident in your choices and not be, like I said, grasping at straws if you know the rules of the game you're playing. So anyway.
I know, and you say imperfect knowledge of a player, but that's something they can't have perfect knowledge of.
That's true.
How the game works.
And with that, you can feel confident in driving into so many different areas. So I would say that's a big one. All right, now let me go into a super basic, non-gaming related. This is just a life one, but it's so high on my list. Be on time.
I've said that, be on time.
Be punctual. A player that shows up on time for a session every time, it shows commitment. It shows that you're interested in what the work the GM is doing. Being late is rude. It makes your friends wait around. Look, if you're late because you got held up in traffic, that's one thing. If you are late every session, even if it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, that's kind of a dick move. And it's like, you got to train yourself out of that. This is a team activity. And you do not hold other people up. Get there on time.
And time is the most valuable resource during a RPG session. My God.
Yes.
How often have I gone, if I only had another hour,
Yes.
If it wasn't 11:30 p.m. right now, oh my God,
Totally. So that's a little side one. But then outside of that, I'm going to say one more thing that I've kind of already gotten into a little bit, but then I'll let you go, is this is a big one for me, and there's a lot of words here that mean the same thing to me. Enthusiasm, engagement. There's two levels of the engagement. On the GM side, it's buy-in. Buy into what the GM is doing. Don't just fight against the GM and constantly want it to be a different game than it is. Buy in to what the group is doing or the GM is doing. And for the other players, it's be a great audience member. Like, a great audience member can just make a game shine so much. If another player is having a scene or doing their thing, don't fucking browse on your phone. You know what I mean? Don't, just stare off into space or
I've had to start games with people that I don't know as well going, okay, everybody, we need to turn off phones. It's so unbelievably rude.
Yeah, so, it's now I get in a combat, I will also say, be ready for your turn. So does that mean reading spells during another player's turn in combat and maybe you miss a little bit of a tactical thing for a moment? That happens, 100%. If we're in role play time and somebody else is having a scene with their character, in a dream sequence and they're learning something about their past, pay attention, ask questions. Wait, have we met them before? Or did you tell us this before? Don't just wait for your turn to speak. So I'll start there. Rules knowledge, be on time, and be enthusiastic about the game. Be a good audience member. What do you got? You said you have one big one.
Well, you're making me think of so many other ones that I think are so great.
Well, great.
I'll say the one big one that I have is willingness to get into trouble.
Oh, that's on my list, buddy. That's I put it as bold and daring.
Bold and daring. So a role-playing game is a story. It's also a game, but it's a story that you're playing through. Stories require conflict in order to be interesting. Conflict means your characters get into trouble. And trouble means you might have to make a skill roll that isn't your strongest roll. You might have to knowingly and willingly insert your character into a situation where they might, oh my God, take damage or even die.
Mm-hmm.
You might encounter NPCs whom you are not higher status than. I've had players who are like, I can intimidate and bully anyone I meet. No, trouble means you might be on a lower status level than an NPC you meet. Trouble might mean you just have to improvise. Anytime you go into any situation that's complex and you have to improvise, that, there's risk there. So it's about taking risk. Some players, I feel like they approach role-playing games like it's their job to avoid all of what I just said, to avoid it at all costs. But all of the fun is in getting in trouble, right? So we need to kind of let go of always trying to get the perfect score, because there's no score. We need to, one of my favorite people in the world, one of my favorite players, the way he plays the game sometimes drives me crazy, because in his mind, the ideal game is he figures out a strategy by planning for hours in the middle of the game, how to get past everything I've set up without taking 1 point of damage or having any setbacks, because he thinks he can plan it out perfectly and logically so that he faces no resistance. Right. In other words, he's trying to solve the puzzle of the game. But the game isn't a puzzle. Yeah. It's not a puzzle. It is a story.
Right.
At least the way I run it.
Yes. And like you said, stories have to have conflict.
They have to have conflict. Danger.
When you learn about this as a child in grammar school, in elementary school, when you learn about reading and comprehension and basic storytelling mechanics, when you learn about what a plot is, the first thing that they tell you is, what is the problem? There is a problem, right? That is a huge part of a plot. And so even if you take that into a microcosm of micro moments and scenes, put yourself in situations that will be problematic for your character, and see how you get yourself out of them. But there's a fine line. So this sprouts I'm going to jump off if you don't mind. This sprouts into two other areas that I have written down here. By the way, focusing on your bold and daring statement, I'm going to quote John Harper here from Blades in the Dark, my favorite RPG book that I've ever read. And I don't know the exact quote, but it's something like, drive your character like it's a stolen car, right? Like, it's written in the book. Seek out trouble, seek out danger, realize there's no real repercussions here. And there are two things that sprout off of that. One is, there's a fine line. You also have to be aware that you can't constantly put all the other characters in danger because you feel like it, or you think it's funny, or you're trying
That's
to
not
be
what I'm
bold
talking
and
about.
daring. Right.
Yeah, that's not what I'm talking about.
There's a line there that you'd also don't want to cross. You don't want to necessarily put everyone in those situations. Just think about, not being so precious with your own safety. The other shoot off of this is you have to trust your GM. If you are driving into problematic situations, you have to trust that your GM knows how to tell a story and isn't just going to immediately kill you for no reason every time you take a risk.
Right.
They have the ability to craft the story and reward you for taking risks, because GMs like it when players take risks. It makes everything more fun. Now, if you are in a game where you truly believe over time you cannot trust your GM, then you shouldn't play in that game. Like, if you don't like playing with them, then don't play in that game. But if you do like playing with them, there is no reason to be extra safe with your character.
I mean, some GMs do teach their players through the way that they play not to take risks, and then I think also then get mad when the players don't take risks, even though they've punished them every time the player has taken a risk. So it's very much each person helping the other one, which would bring me maybe to my next one that you made me think of, which, it's the GM's job to make the players look awesome. You know, if you're playing a barbarian or a wizard, you want your guy to be awesome, right? If you're playing a secret agent, you want your guy to be awesome. So it's the GM's job to do that, but it's also the player's job to make the other players look awesome, right? Like, you know, to not always try to take the spotlight, but to be like, oh, you're the talker in the group. Get us out of this, you know? I mean, that sounds like you're giving the other player an order, but you're kind of acknowledging, hey, you have more skill than I have, you know? Or, and then also making the GM look awesome by actually when someone, you know, a character says something shocking going, Joe, you're very good at this. When something shocking or scary happens in the game, or a character is funny, you react, you know, and you make your character react. Holy shit, I can't believe this is happening. It shows commitment, like you were saying earlier, but it also just makes the GM feel awesome. Like, oh, okay, my scene is going over the way that I wanted it to go over. And so to make the other players look awesome, that's extremely important by acknowledging, you know, their skill and how awesome their characters are, but also trying to make the GM look awesome.
I took a note I wrote a note here that is another one of my things, which is similar to what you just said about saying to your friend, the other PC, you know, you're the talker, get us out of this, right? So the way I wrote it down here, there's two levels to this. It's pass the baton. It's knowing when to step out of a scene and give somebody else a scene. Or even in combat, it's as simple as don't sit there grinding away for 3 minutes on how to have the perfect turn where you do the most damage, and instead set up an aid for another character.
Right.
Set up an assist, a sweet assist, so that they get the reward of, you know, making that kill. I struggle with this because I always want the kill, but it's a great thing to do to pass that baton. But the other layer of this that's so important, and a lot of players do this, a lot of players, but the great ones know when to take the baton and when to do that in a measured fashion,
a gracious way,
in a gracious way that is basically knowing when the game needs to be moved forward in a direction and nobody is stepping up to lead in that scene or in that moment. Know when you also need to be the leader, because a great player doesn't let the action fizzle to indecision and nothing because they're too afraid to tell anyone what to do. It's like, dude, sometimes if you feel like you've got a strong opinion or an idea, just do something. Push the action forward.
Please, God, do something.
Yeah, if everybody's indecisive.
Let me tell you, I just want to piggyback on that, which is, you know, so many times I play a game where we're talking about, or I'm a player and I have fellow players, and we're talking about opening a door. And we discuss whether to open the door once. And then we're like, okay, now let's open it. And then someone goes, wait, let's discuss it again. So we all discuss whether we're opening the door again. That's not where the fun is. The fun is not constantly weighing whether we're going to open the door or not. The fun is behind the fucking door. So I'm not saying to crash the car over and over. I'm not saying to not discuss it at all and just run through the door. But if you've all discussed it once and you can't think of a real reason not to do it, stop being a pussy and open the door.
Jesus. Well, another angle that I'll take on that of exactly what I'm saying and exactly in this situation is, especially if you are a stealthy character and you're in a dungeon, know your role and sneak ahead. Don't be afraid to constantly decide which hallway to go down. Every turn of a hallway does not need to go to committee. Every door that's open doesn't need to go to committee. If a player has a serious thought about this, in character, they'll say, wait, before we do that, let's think about this. If nobody says anything, just start opening doors. Just start moving down hallways. Because to me, that's more cinematic. If the characters are just walking and moving along, who's ever in the lead is just making decisions because the decision was already made to put them in the lead. So that's the decision. You don't have to decide every single, at every intersection. You don't
it
have
happens
to have
in other games too. It happens in mysteries. You're like, are we going to the nightclub or are we going to City Hall? Well, let's discuss it once for 5 minutes. Okay. Now let's discuss it again for 5 minutes. It's like, just, you know what I loved about Abu Salim? Abu would discuss it once, then he would go to the nightclub and set it on fire. And now things are happening.
Right. Now things are happening.
One time in a game, they found a weird ooze they couldn't identify, and Abu's like, my character puts it in his mouth. And I was like, look, it's a little bit like crashing the car, but god damn it, at least stuff is happening.
Yeah.
I would rather someone just mentioned Leroy Jenkins. I would rather someone Leroy Jenkins, not because as a GM I want to destroy the players or hurt them, but because now things are happening when someone Leroy Jenkins.
Agreed. In what would you say it? How would you, I'm drawing a blank here. In moderation. Right? Like Leroy Jenkinsing in moderation is a fun way to play, to have that kind of player that pushes action like that. I've got at least 5 more things to discuss on this. I love it, but let's take some calls.
Let's take some calls.
Let's let other people weigh in on maybe something we haven't discussed yet. Let's bring up somebody that I saw this weekend. Herbadur. I saw this weekend. Do you there, buddy?
Herbadur.
Let's see if we can get her on. In the meantime, what did you just say? The Leroy Jenkins thing. Yeah. I was trying to think of how that fits into what we were just talking about. Oh, here he is. There he is. Herbadur.
Hey, Herbadur. Hey, I'm here. Yes. Hey, guys.
Hey,
thanks, Joe, for signing my foot cast to you and the rest of the crew.
Yeah.
Nice.
Herbadur broke a foot, sadly. So sorry, buddy. And was injured at the show, but made it out. That's commitment.
Yeah. Jared, I'm sorry I didn't get to do any foot stuff with you.
Hey, that's okay. We'll find a time.
You got any thoughts on what makes a great player?
Yeah, so I've been a GM and I've been a player at this point. And as a GM, play with me. Do things with me. Like I ran a Starfinder campaign. And for the longest time, my players were like chess pieces almost, just moving from room to room, getting into combat, looting things, and moving on. And I'd be like, well, what does Neva think about this? And she'd be like, oh, I don't know. She wants to go kill the bad guy. I'm like, awesome. Okay, let's move along.
Yeah, that's a great point, Herbadur. I had a feeling the calls were going to just lead right into my next points. And here's another one. It is, and this comes under coming prepared, right? The rules is its own thing. Okay, now here's prepared for your character. Here are my 3 points. Know your character. I mean, that is that's the most basic rules thing is know your character. Then know the story so far. So have a good sense of the story so far. And then the last one is what you just said, Herbadur, which is know what your character hopes to achieve in the coming sessions. Like, you don't, the long-term things can be super vague and they can help you make little decisions from time to time. But a GM should be able to turn to you and be like, what are you looking for or want right now out of the next couple sessions? And you should have an answer. If you don't, then why are you even playing? I guess sometimes for people, it's just to have tactical combat because that's fun. But everything elevates when you're in that tactical combat and you have stakes. You have things you want. And if you die, you won't achieve them. And that's important. How will that affect the world? How will that impact things?
This character is a xenobiologist, and we make our way into a interdimensional area that had animals from across the galaxy, and she just strolls through it.
Yeah. But is that a new player, though? I want to ask Herbadur, maybe somebody who was a little bit more of a novice, had only been playing for a year or less or something like that?
She was a little newer to role-playing games. It wasn't her first time, but she was fairly new.
I find that new players, some of these things Joe and I are talking about are things you should learn as you get more experience, because I recently played with some brand new players. And another player turned to a new player and started doing like a scene with that player. And the player went, I can't do improv. And we were all like, okay, no problem. So sometimes, players that if they're new, they don't quite know how much fun they can have. They don't know where to find the fun. So
thanks for calling in, Herbidur, and it was good to see you this weekend. Get well soon. Let's go to Squid. Let's get Squid up here to have Squid weigh in. Squid, who works on the old Pathfinder Reddit there. So a lot of game experience, I would assume, out of Squid.
And, of course, you saw me this weekend in Ann Arbor as well.
Yes.
I'm not sure if you realized you were seeing me.
No, probably not. I always say at these shows, I don't even want people's real names that are on Discord and Twitch. I just want a name tag with your Twitch and your Discord handle, and I'll be like, I know who you are.
And your social security number.
We talked a couple times, but I never introduced myself. Anyway. So I think I'm confused about a couple things. One, I'm confused how Jared is playing with my players who always try and figure out a way to get through the scenario without possibly taking any damage.
Because it's a lot of players.
It really is. I do think that it is more common among the players who are more puzzle-minded. They do, like you said, they think about everything as being something they can solve. And there are some parts of it that are the story. You can't solve the story. That's what we're doing as the whole adventure. But I think that what really makes a great player is a balance of two things. One is experience, whether it's experience with the things that Joe's been talking about being prepared with the rules and what you want to do. And then two, being inexperienced. There's players that do not know what they're doing and can bring out the most amazing things, like Nick Lowe's open close is one of the best moments on the GCN because he had no idea what he was doing, but it's amazing. And if you can hold on to that sort of...
Real quick, I want to make sure Jared's up to speed on this. Are you aware of Nick Lowe's
I don't know what this
close?
is.
Nick Lowe playing Pathfinder 1E, Legacy of the Ancients, which is our Rise of the Rune Lords campaign.
Right.
Had the open... Oh, wait, was it then, Squid? Do you remember? Or was that a previous character? It might have been a previous character. Anyway.
It was there. No, it was there. It was there right as y'all were approaching the Goblin Castle. I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, so he's playing a Scald. So he's got some spell casting, right? He's a Scald, so he's got some, like a bardic spell casting. And he has some cantrips, and he's got the cantrip open close, which allows you to open or close a door from a little far, open or close a chest or whatever. And somebody was bleeding out, and he asked the GM if the circulatory system could be considered a container. And he wanted to cast close on the wounds.
Like topologically, Nick, you're not
it
wrong.
sounds like he would get along playing with Paula Demick.
Yes, him and Paula, if getting in a game together, might create a vortex there. Yeah, that was a singularity.
Paula asked me during the Age of Vikings game whether she could heal someone by praying to a god of war. I was like, I don't think war is healing, Paula.
It's not really about healing. Sorry. Continue, Squid. Did you have
that's fine. It's an anecdote well worth retelling. But if you can somehow, as an experienced player, hang on to that inexperience, that joy and wonder of looking at things in that different way that a new player comes to the game, I think that really does make the best players. Is that blend of experience and sense of wonder.
Agreed. Squid, thanks for the call. That was well said. I struggle with this because this is on my list. It is strategic awareness. Be aware of your play in a strategic game. Some games aren't strategic, but if you're playing a Pathfinder 2e game, a great player is aware of the battlefield and knows the consequences of their choices, at least in one way or another. So if you want to be bold and daring, do it not because you're completely uneducated in the impact that's going to have to your other players. Do it because you know that's going to put some things at risk, but it's going to be fun, and you think your character would do it, right?
Right.
That's where the fine line comes in that Squid is talking about, because it is so easy to get to know the rules so well that you essentially get, I don't want to say incapacitated, but you have this inability to do anything dangerous.
Right.
And because you're like, strategically, that is not the most optimal choice in the round, right? And I fall into that trap all the time. It's very hard to kind of work your way out of that once you're too far in. So maintaining some of that innocence is an important thing. And I think that is a good trait of a great player. Do you got anything else, Jared, before I bring somebody else up? I'm going to bring up...
Well, it made me think of one other thing, which is I really think it's important, especially in character creation, sincerity, because many times I've played in the past with people who are like, my character is a parody of this kind of character. And it's like, no, man. No, you're not cooler than the game. Like, make a sincere character, something that you sincerely think is awesome, that you would sincerely like to read about in a novel like this, or on a TV show like this. Don't make like, a character who's like, my character is actually Donald Trump if he were a bard. Like, don't do that. Like make sincerely now, what you think is a great character.
I'll say this. Some games have that tone. Some games are, it's a one shot. Some games are a bit of a comedy.
Popcorn game, yeah.
Yeah, we have these on the network. Sometimes we make silly character names because we think we're just going to goof off. And look, we have a good laugh. We have a good time from that. There's no question. What I want to drive home your point, Jared, is those games will always be less than the games where people are sincere and playing serious characters. Can you be silly with a serious character? 100%. Can you have a hilarious session or series of scenes with totally serious characters? Absolutely. In fact, you'll probably have more of them because you're not trying to be funny. When you have serious characters, comedy comes easier, in my opinion.
I think so too. That's where the laughs come from, instead of trying to be funny. I will also just throw out there, these are my preferences, and as you said at the beginning, do as I say, not as I do.
Yes,
you know what I mean. We all
struggle.
So anyway,
with some of these, 100%.
These are all like pie in the sky, we wish we could always do XYZ. So
something to aspire to. How about Singing Zombies, who I also hung out with this weekend? Singing, it's great to have you back again.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
we can. How are you?
I'm great. It was great seeing you guys. It was a lot of fun.
So awesome.
So I really took to the engagement part, the enthusiasm part. I feel like that's like the highest priority because it helps bring everything else. Like when one player is really engaged and having fun, it helps the whole table get engaged and have fun. And when you have engagement, it helps players want to know the rules better, want to know their characters better. It's what helps the whole table buy in. And I as a player, I have like a bunch of socially awkward friends, and it's so scary to be the first person to want to like do a voice and get like really into the character. Like
absolutely.
I'm saying I want the engagement player, but I have a hard time being it. I need someone else to be like, I'm going to dig in, and then it helps me go like, okay, cool, I'm also in. And also role play with everyone else. As a GM, it's actually like really easy for me to do voices because I guess it's like expected, but as a player being the first person, it's like a little point of vulnerability right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you're not someone who's ever performed before or done any kind of improv or something like that. It's terrifying. They say the second biggest fear of people is public speaking, and RPGs sort of demand some public speaking.
Yeah,
in front of 5 people, but yeah.
Singing. Thanks for the call, and it was great to see you this weekend. Oh man. I look at this whole list. I mean, I've got at least 16 or 17 lines of like stuff.
Yeah.
Do you know what not a single one of them is? And this is by choice. I recognize this, but not until the end. Not a single one of them is performance skill.
Yeah.
That's not on my list.
You don't need it.
You don't need it. Maybe it enhances a show if you're an actual play network. 100%.
Sure.
Like, that kind of stuff is great and highly valued. But that also takes a back seat to so many of these other elements that we're talking about. And you can be an incredibly skilled performer. If you are always late and don't care about the other players or the game, I don't care how good you are at performing, you won't be on the Glass Cannon Network long. It's performance is a very, very, like, you don't have to worry about being good at performing to be a great player, in my opinion.
I had an awesome player for years who never played in character, who always said,
my character
says this, Dirk goes here, talk about his character in the third person, awesome. because he would do stuff, you know what I mean? And he would interact. He would definitely interact. He just wasn't comfortable being like, well, I have, he just didn't do that. So it's like, you don't have to do that. You don't have to be a great performer.
When I finally got back into Pathfinder, when I got back into role-playing games for the first time, when I met Skid, and then shortly after playing with when I met Troy and got him into it, I never did a character voice. I never did character voices when I played my characters. It wasn't until our first show, Giant Slayer, that I was like, and I was so nervous and so embarrassed to do a character voice in an accent, but I wanted to do it because I was like, this is an audio podcast. I want to distinguish the character's voice from my voice. I never thought that was important in our gaming sessions before, know, so that's the only reason I did it. And of course now, like, I just find it to be too fun. And even when I'm bad and stupid with it, all it does is create comedy and fun at the table, And so I've learned to just dive in and get embarrassed. It's fun.
I mean, we said you don't have to be a great performer, but just on the voice for a second, Critical Role is a huge hit. And I think all of those people were voice actors. And so I think sometimes when they came to the table, that's what they had. They had the voice, and so many things flow out of a good voice, like a specific voice.
A personality comes out of it.
Yeah, they're checking off some of the boxes you already mentioned on like commitment and knowing your character just by figuring out the voice of their character. So, that's one of the reasons that's such a great property, Critical Role.
Yeah, there's a lot of avenues to get to these places that we're talking about. There's a lot of different ways in. Just like I said, you're having the rules knowledge, knowing the game is an effect of it shows your engagement, and similarly vice versa, as Singing just said, I believe was sticking on enthusiasm, just being excited to be there, even if you don't know the rules. It means eventually you're going to learn the rules because you're excited to be there, right? So there's a lot of different kind of angles.
Yeah, if I can get 2 or 3 of these things from a player, I'm a very happy man.
Totally.
Like
100%.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to do 2 more specific things, and then I'll be done. These are getting more specific now. One is rules lawyering. Now, as far as rules lawyering goes, here's what I think a great player does at the table. We've already established you know the rules. We already established that you're trying to lift everybody up and trying to be fair and trying to be fun. Acknowledge danger when it's there. Make the GM look cool. If you put all those things together, the way rules lawyering should manifest, the way I try to do it, is if you think a rule is not correct, you raise it, you suggest what might be correct or might be done or whatever, and then the GM decides, and that's it. It's one sort of mention. The GM decides, and the way I have it in my notes here is there are no appeals in rules lawyering, right? So I don't mind you bringing up a rule. I don't mind you saying, well, I don't know if that's how that works. Even if you're wrong as the rules lawyer, you double check it. No, I was wrong. Sorry, you're right. Continue. It's fine. Or if the GM is just like, not in this situation. I don't want that, blah, blah, blah. No appeals. You just say, okay, that's it. So
because if you get into appeals, it becomes a rules argument often.
Yeah,
I'll just say a good GM listens to the player when they bring up that maybe rules misstep.
Yeah.
Unless it is about perception versus deception when you're noticing lies in Pathfinder 2e. In which case, there's really no reason to listen to the player, I find.
We could have a whole other show, of course, obviously, on good GM traits. But I think one of the best GM traits you can have is listening to your players and confidently going against the rules whenever you want to. You can't be irritated that there's a rule and then just follow that rule because it ruins this your scene as you're imagining it. Just change it. You need to have the confidence as the GM to know it is your game.
Absolutely.
You could do whatever you want. So don't get all upset if somebody brings up that a rule might be different. Just say, okay, I hear you. I'm not going to go with it this time. I reserve the right to change that down the line, but right now I want to do this, whatever. Just do it. And if that brings up an appeal for the player in fighting, then the game's not working right now. Something else has to be resolved. Okay, and this is the last thing I'll say, very specific. This has to do with creating a character. This is just character backstory. The way I describe character backstory, it is a shared experience with the GM and even the other players at times. It can be really fun to have it loose with the other players too. Give the GM some threads to pull on. Give them some blocks to build with. Don't give them 10 pages.
Yeah, what the plot is going to be.
Everything that has happened to your character with no wiggle room in the previous, what brought them there. It's a lot more fun. A great player gives a couple details and that's it, and is fine with the GM or even other players fiddling with it and moving things around. Because you never know when you're going to hear something. You're like, I never thought of it that way. That's even better than what I thought might be the case. So I think great players leave it a backstory that is opened and is modular to the GM so that it can fit whatever you need for the adventure to get the right motivations.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I agree. Absolutely.
All right. Well, we have spent a lot of time on this, so we got a lot of show left.
Let's
a
keep
lot
going.
of people want to talk, so we're going to keep bringing people up. And if you want to talk about things we didn't talk about with Great Player, absolutely. But for right now, hang in there. We got to move on to My Offenses Rank, which was inspired. Jared brought this up for the record. I did not.
We're talking about players.
He was like, if we're talking about players, my brain goes to, well, what does that mean in terms of movies? Players playing a game, playing a sport, sports, movies. Yeah.
Sports movies. So I just want to throw out there, so we're going to rank our sports movies. Excuse me. When we do this segment, we do our top 5. The ranking is important, whether one is better than the other. And as we say, if one of us has it higher on their list, we'll wait until we get into that number to talk about that one. I just want to let you know, I know nothing about sports. So I'm coming at this from someone who doesn't really know sports, but I do love sports movies sometimes.
Okay.
So it wasn't too hard to come up with 5 movies that I really liked in the sports realm. And I challenged myself. I've seen all of these, obviously. That's a given. You have to have seen them.
Yes.
And I challenged myself to come up with none of them are of the same sport. They're all different sports.
Mine also are all different sports. I obviously have a list of 10 like this, like immediately top 10.
Yeah.
I had a very hard time making top 5. And I'll say the way that I distributed, the way that I bumped other movies out, even if I thought they were better movies maybe, or I'd be more into them really, the way that I bumped them out in this case, focusing on players, is I broke ties based on traditional sports movies where it is where there is that flow of, are they going to win or not, to winning or not, right? Like that sort of flow of a classic sports movie structure. I kind of focused on that and had that break ties on someone's, where sports are the backdrop of a story that isn't necessarily about the win-loss of a team, right? Like,
I gotta say, I love that you use that rubric, because I really love it when a movie is like, are they going to win or lose this big match or this big game?
Yes.
I had less movies to draw from.
Yeah.
So I wasn't able. Some of mine are a little bit like the sports are a little in the background, but they're all about sports. I would say they're all definitely about sports.
I am so curious to see like how many, if any, we have in common on this list.
Yeah.
So why don't you kick
only one
it
of
off?
mine is very obscure, I think. Only one is very obscure. You want me to start?
Yeah, I would like you to start.
Okay, I'll start with my number 5.
Okay,
A basketball movie. A basketball movie from the year 1998. Directed by Spike Lee, starring Denzel Washington and pro basketball player Ray Allen in the lead. With Rosario Dawson. It also has Mila Jovovich. I'm talking about a movie called He Got Game. Have you ever seen He Got Game?
I've never seen He Got Game. I know about it. I've heard of it, but I never saw it.
Very briefly, He Got Game. It's got a great premise, okay? Denzel Washington is in prison. He's doing a 15-year sentence. The warden summons him and says, hey, listen, we know that your son is like the number 1 pick out of high school right now, and all these colleges want him to be on their basketball team. the governor really wants your son to go to his university. He's going to shorten your sentence if you can get your son to go to his school. We're going to let you out for 1 week to convince your son to go to the governor's alma mater. So it's, and of course, they're estranged, the son, and it's Denzel, dude. It's Denzel. and it's Spike Lee. So, the great thing about Spike Lee, I find, is that he keeps kind of throwing curveballs at you. It's never quite what you think it's going to be, the movie. It's never quite filmed the way you think that, someone would film it. It's never predictable. And it has some great monologues. Like, there's a point where the local criminal is driving around Ray Allen, who's like, the number one high school pick, and telling him about all the things people are going to come to him, give me money, and people are going to try to get you on drugs, and there's this long monologue about, excuse me, pussy, that the criminal gives to Ray Allen. And, it's a very adult movie, but it's very cool. I really, cool.
I got to check that. Obviously I've heard of it, and I really like Spike Lee movies, and I know that's always been out there. I don't know why. I mean, I have not seen it on any streaming service in the last several years. Let's say that, just like pop up.
I watched it a while back on Tubi, I think.
Tubi, love it. Yeah. Ad-supported freebies. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. So I had ads the whole time, but it was good.
Yeah. All right, I gotta check that out. All right, we'll do number 5 on my list. Is in this list the most modern of all of my top 10. I did 10 just in case we want to do some honorable mentions at the end if callers don't mention them. But this is the most recent of all of them for me. At number 5, Ford versus Ferrari. For me.
Ford versus Ferrari.
I don't know if you
not
saw
on my
that
list, but I have seen it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one, and I learned so much about that time, the history, the sport, and I love when things are based on a true story. I love sports movies based on a true story where you can actually learn a few things, and I just thought there was great character work in that movie, and it had the classic sports movie formula of like this kooky guy who doesn't do things the way everybody else does. There's no way he can beat the cream of the crop that all do things the same way kind of thing. And then, you see the training and the building and
that's
and
Christian Bale and Matt Damon, right?
Christian Bale, yeah. So Christian
James
Bale,
Mangold directing, I think. Is it Mangold?
I believe.
I think it is.
Yeah.
The joke I always made about Ford versus Ferrari, and sorry to bust your balls, but I was like, finally a movie about the true underdog, the Ford Motor Company.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, it's James Mangold, yeah, who did Logan.
But the best part about that is that it's not about that. It is so much. It's so about the characters, and particularly those two. But then there's a couple other great characters as well. And Ford, in and of itself, is also a villain within the movie. Like they're fighting with their own company to just try to win this thing because they're like, you are such a big ship, and you're moving so slow that you don't understand like what it takes at the ground level of this stuff to win games, right? And I love that concept in a story.
I remember the races being filmed, like the filming of the races to be amazing. Like I had never really seen a race filmed quite that way. Beautiful. And you're making me think, how the fuck did I leave off one of my favorite movies? Days of Thunder.
Days of Thunder, dude. Phenomenal.
How did I leave off Days of Thunder? An amazing film. That'll be my honorable mention.
There's a scene, and I'll say this before you move on. There's a scene in Ford versus Ferrari that is not an actual race when they're trying to get Ford to stop being a penis and just let them do their thing. Stop trying to micromanage something you don't understand. And the character, I can't remember the name of the actor who is playing the president of the company. I think it's Henry Ford's grandson at this time. And he says, "Let me take you for a ride." And he puts him in the race car, and there's an in-camera, like an in-car cam that has a great view of the inside of the car. And I mean, I'm assuming they really did it. Like they really did the scene because it starts moving. And this actor is like the way the G-forces are moving him around, the way that his body is like, his face is getting like, by the speed and everything. And he just starts like screaming in like a way that it's uncontrolled, right? Like, just like, ah, and when it ends, it's amazing. I just get chills thinking about it. It's a great scene because he starts to just cry after it stops. And he's like, I had no idea. Like, I had no idea what these things could do, and it's
awesome.
Just a very cool scene.
That's very cool. I'm glad that they were able to give a CEO, a great time.
Yeah, exactly. All right, what is your number 4?
Okay, so this is my most obscure one. So forgive me. I always have, I feel like, an obscure one on the list.
Oh, yeah.
This is a film from 1977, starring the great Burt Reynolds.
Ooh.
Starring his often in the 70s, but now pretty often forgotten female co-star in a couple films, Jill Clayburgh, and also starring the great Chris Christopherson. This is a football film. Semi-Tough is the name of the film.
Semi-Tough,
directed by Michael Ritchie, who also directed The Bad News Bears and Fletch. Bad News Bears was almost on my list, but I like this movie a little bit more than Bad News Bears. So this movie is just a love triangle between Burt Reynolds, Jill Clayburgh, and Chris Christopherson. Burt Reynolds is the veteran football player who's been around a while. Chris Christopherson is the hot new quarterback who's getting deals, who's getting commercials.
Yep.
And they're both in love with Jill Clayburgh. But it's not. It's more about the celebrity of being a football star than it's about winning a game. And it's also a lot about Est. Do you know Est?
No.
Est was this self-help thing where you would go and you would spend a weekend in a hotel ballroom and they would make you confront the truths about your own personality. So it's about football stars who are taking Est seminars. But they kind of parody that sort of 70s culture of like self-help and self-actualization. And, I don't know. It's a really, really cool...
The tagline for the movie is, it's the world's greatest game. And then in parentheses, and it sure ain't football.
There it is.
There it is.
I got to see this at the New Beverly on film. It's probably one of Quentin Tarantino's own reels because he has all these old films they play there, and it played great, and it's really funny even today. So that's I had to have a comedy too, and I think that's my only comedy is Semi-Tough.
Okay, got it. I am not going comedy for my number 4. Number 4, I'm going to go with Miracle. Do a little hockey
movie. Haven't seen it.
Oh, I think it's great. I mean, it's a very simple, classic sports movie, but it tells the story of the 1980 U.S. Olympic hockey team trying to go up against the Russians, who at that point I think had won the gold medal every Olympics since the 50s or something like that. And so real daunting task, but it's a great movie. I feel like great story of the reason this makes my top 5 and breaks so many ties is because I love stories of a team that is they do such a great job of telling an Olympic team story because all of these athletes are all competitors on other teams.
Right.
And a decent amount of them are intense rivals. And hockey is the kind of sport where your rivals, especially at this time, I mean, you would literally fist fight. Like you would hurt each other, try to hurt each other. And that was part of the sport. That was all just, factored in. And this one really gives a good sense of what it takes to play with your rivals on a team to become more than the sum of your parts, get rid of that old baggage and focus on a different enemy, right? And that story is a great story in my opinion.
They were playing, they had to beat the Russians, is that right? They had to beat the Soviet Union?
Yeah, that was that's the big tough one to beat, to see if you could even beat them was, the tough part. But to me the main story is not only about the kids that were hated each other, having to be on the same team, but also the coaching is great. Kurt Russell plays the head coach.
Nice.
And he does a great job of doing what is, what I would consider professional kind of coaching story, which is like, you can't coddle people, you can't baby them, but you also can't be too intense with these guys because you just you're going to lose them, right? So it's like walking that fine line of motivating them, but not being their friend. It's really cool film.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I love a good coach character, right?
Yeah,
or like a coach movie where the coach is the one that's got to bring people together or make it work.
Did you watch Ted Lasso?
I really dislike Ted Lasso.
Oh, wait a minute. I can't remember if we talked about this. You might have said this before. This is ringing a bell.
I'm not going to get into why right now.
Yeah, but in either case, there is like Ted Lasso. If you think of Coach Beard, like that, the side character who's kind of the side coach. There's a great character like that in Miracle. What's his name? Noah Emmerich. I like that. I like that actor a lot. You know Noah Emmerich, right? Does it?
Probably. I'm gonna look up this film because I also want to know who directed it. 2004 film. And looks like
Noah Emmerich is the dude from the Truman Show.
Oh, is Noah Emmerich? Is he the Americans?
Yes, Noah Emmerich is the Americans.
Hell yeah, dude!
Yeah, so
he's from the Americans, my favorite show.
Right. So you have Kurt Russell as Hal Brooks, who's kind of like he's so intense and just like basically doesn't even speak to the players barely, right? Like that sort of level of head coach. And then you have Noah Emmerich playing the XO kind of character, right? Like the guy who is in the trenches with the players and brings complaints up to the coach and then, down for the hand of the king, right, is Noah Emmerich. Great character. Good coaching movie.
The director here did more than one sports movie. He's the director of The Way Back, 2020 Ben Affleck film. He's the director of Warrior, which I believe is an MMA film, right? Yeah, it is.
I did not see Warrior.
Yeah, neither did I. I haven't seen it. And he directed The Accountant.
He's the executive producer, right, of The Accountant? Or is he directed The Accountant? No.
He did. Wait. Directed by Gavin O'Connor. Yes, he did.
Wow, so I love The Accountant.
He's a good buddy with Gavin O'Connor. The director is a good buddy of Ben Affleck.
He also directed one episode of The Americans. So there you go.
It
all comes together.
That's how you get Noah Emmerich. All right.
Okay. My number 3. You should check out Miracle. It's great.
My number 3. I can't believe this film is at number 3. This is one everybody's heard of, but really it comes after 2 others to me. This is Rocky, directed by John Avildsen.
Let's wait. There's Rocky.
Higher on your list.
Rocky is my number 2. Rocky is
all right,
2.
Great.
Yeah.
What's your number 3?
So my number 3 is we're going to go baseball. I'm going to go baseball here, and this is I think the second most recent one in my list. Moneyball. My number 2. Oh, look at that. We swapped them. I think I had to bump up Rocky because of my Philly heritage. I couldn't help it, but I love both of these movies. Also, I want to say real quick on Rocky before we talk about Moneyball. Rocky I have it on my list as Rocky / Rocky 2 / Rocky 3 / Creed. To me, that they're all together as like one long story.
And I just want to be clear. Mine is just Rocky.
Understood. All right. Yeah. Let's talk Moneyball for a second.
Let's talk Moneyball.
Why did Moneyball make number 2 on your list?
I just want to say it's directed by a guy named Bennett Miller, who directed another movie that almost made my list, which is Foxcatcher. But Foxcatcher is so fucking dark. I would have been depressed if it was on my list.
Yep.
This is an Aaron Sorkin script, Moneyball, which is why it's such a great script. And it's based on a nonfiction book, which I think is awesome. Mm-hmm. So Brad Pitt plays Billy Bean, and Peter Brand is played by Jonah Hill. And this is a procedural about baseball recruitment.
It's the first story that I can remember that is really well done about the front office.
Yeah, the deal.
A professional organization. So, you've got these stories that we've already done examples of. Like you did a love story where the sport is the background. I did, the players fighting against each other and the coach trying to wrangle them all together, right? The team story. With Ford versus Ferrari, you have those the players fighting against their own ownership kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And this is now from the owners are the heroes in this world, not the owners, but the managers of the team are the heroes of this story. Very interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's just really fantastic. If you would have told me that I would like this film, I would have told you you're wrong, because it really is mostly about their process of figuring out this sabermetric approach to creating a winning team with, half the budget or a quarter of the budget of other big teams. And Brad Pitt is great in it. Jonah Hill's great in it. It's just like a really good movie about about deals and about management. And, since then we've gotten so many other deal movies that I think are really good, like Air, which also almost made my list.
I forgot about Air. I only saw it once. I really want to see it again. That could probably be on this list. Yeah, I really like
Air is a deal movie. If nobody has seen the Blackberry movie, I highly recommend the Blackberry movie. But there's all these, there was an Uber TV show that I watched that I liked. So there's all these movies now that are about the deal, about the business of a sport or the business of a company. I think Moneyball, though, is the first and the best of all of those.
Chef's kiss. So. I often say I think I still put it in my top 5, if not number 1 overall of all genres for the 2010 decade, like 2010 to 2019.
Yeah, absolutely.
That movie was so good. I watched it over and over and over. I mean,
and it looks great too.
I don't have much to add except that the script is so good, and it's also shot like another movie that just didn't make my list, just fell out of the top 5, which is Seabiscuit. I love Seabiscuit.
Yeah,
and in Seabiscuit they do that almost documentary style to it early on. They literally get what's his face.
Yeah.
Who am I thinking? The documentary, Ken Burns. They actually get Ken Burns to do the narration early on about the Depression and stuff like that. Like the way they set it up in the very from the first shot, I'm getting chills. It's like actual broadcast footage of the whatever it was, 2002 like AL championship or whatever. Like it's just the grainy footage, and you're hearing the announcer, you're hearing Joe Buck, and they're showing the money on each side playing each other. It's like the money's playing the money, not the players.
Yeah.
So cool. Anyway, love that one. Let's talk Rocky. So glad Rocky's on your list. Talk to me about Rocky.
Well, I just think, Rocky, I love a lot of things about it. First of all, I love that Sylvester Stallone wrote the script. Because later I think he became more of a star, and even a star that people made fun of because he did so many Rambos and a couple bad movies. But when he started out, he was an auteur, man, and he wrote his own scripts and did a lot of incredible things. I also think that the greatest thing about Rocky is that it encapsulates a great life philosophy.
Yes.
Going the distance.
Yes.
Right? At the end of the movie, Rocky loses, but he went the distance. And it's about living up to your potential. And it's very existentialist, right? Like life throws a lot of ups and downs at you. Horrible tragedy can befall you. But if you just try to be the best you that you can be, you triumph. And that is what Rocky is about. And Rocky's a good one to put on if you're ever like, man, I'm in kind of a tough spot right now. Like, how do I see myself through this? A breakup, or you get fired, or something like that. Yeah, you gotta put on Rocky, man. Rocky will make you feel better, and it'll give you direction. That's how good Rocky is. Very few movies do that. So that's what I love about Rocky.
Very few sports movies are that therapeutic. Where Rocky is so great because it's also a love story, which is great. They combine it with the sports story, this love story of two misfits kind of, trying to find their way through the world, and both of them have been beaten down and their life has not turned out to what they expected it to be at this stage, but they keep pushing, they keep living, both of them in their own way. And such a great story. And I like how you highlight there about going the distance. A lot of sports movies, typical flow is some team is up against impossible odds, right? You can't beat this thing here, and you have to work hard and try to get there. And most sports movies and this is not a failing of them, they're great. Yeah. And most sports movies, you overcome that seemingly impossible obstacle.
You work hard and you win.
By working hard and focusing and doing your best and training and all that stuff, sacrificing, all that stuff, and you emerge victorious. And Rocky, the the way the story is set up, it's great because they really do present what at that time would certainly be considered an impossible task. The movie would lose credibility if Rocky could just go in there and beat literally the world champion, the heavyweight world champion of boxing. Because it's one of the greatest fighters that ever lived at this stage in the movie, in the fiction. And Rocky knows that. Yeah. And is still doing it anyway because he just needs to show himself, not anybody else, show himself that he can stand there, that he can be there and go the distance and make that fighter fight the whole fight. He knows he's not going to win, but he's just not going to get knocked out. And that's a great part of that. And he says it. He says as much. All I want to do, my whole life I've been told I can't go the distance, right? And it's just, it's great. It's great.
It's about attitude, and it's amazing. And what I loved about Rocky was when I was growing up, they used to show movies on like a Sunday or a Saturday afternoon, and I would watch Rocky 3 times a year. I've probably seen Rocky 100 times.
Oh, I didn't know that
because of that.
That's great.
Oh, sure. It just used to be on when I was a kid, and I was like home on a Saturday afternoon. So
I feel like I rope Creed in with it because I feel like Creed did a spectacular job of like rebooting the franchise in a way, and you can't have Creed without Rocky, Rocky 2, and Rocky 3. And Creed is another awesome story of an individual who is trying to shirk a reputation, what would you put it? How would you put it?
A legacy.
Yes. But like, everybody sort of presumes him to be a spoiled rich kid because of where he comes from, and that he can't hang with fighters that have to fight to survive. And he's like, you have no idea who I am, because he wasn't raised with that silver spoon in his mouth. He had a different upbringing. And so it's very interesting. What people assume about you in the media versus who you really are is told a lot in that story. So another great sports story. All right.
And you're just calling back to Mr. T with Rocky 3 right there.
There we go. Little Mr. T.
There you go. A little bit more Mr. T. The official celebrity mascot of Glass Cannon Radio.
Yes.
Mr. T. All right, my number 1. Are you ready?
Yes.
Also, I think the most recent movie on my list. This movie stars Zac Efron, Jeremy Allen White, and one of my favorite actors, Holt McCallany. This is The Iron Claw from 2023.
I've had The Iron Claw. It's your number 1 favorite. I've had The Iron Claw.
Let me tell you something.
I can't wait to watch The Iron Claw. I haven't seen it yet.
Let me tell you about The Iron Claw, Joe. Tears streaming down my face.
Wow.
Sobs racking my chest from The Iron Claw.
I've had it downloaded for about 2 months on my iPad and have not watched it on a flight. I keep meaning to, and then something else comes up. I'm like, I got to watch Andor, or I got to watch The Last of Us. Like, it's been sitting there. It's on HBO, I think, or on Max, I think. I really want to watch that. So awesome. I'm so glad you like it.
So I will say I'm someone who likes depressing movies, and you could write off The Iron Claw as depressing, but I think that there really is an incredible ray of hope in The Iron Claw, particularly when it comes to the Zac Efron character. I'm someone who never thought much of Zac Efron as an actor. I thought of him as the High School Musical person. This proved to me that he's a fantastic actor. Holt McCallany is a guy that I have loved in everything I've seen him in. You probably remember him from Mindhunter. He plays the dad who puts way too much pressure on them. And
Fight Club.
And he's in Fight Club.
He is.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. In Death, members of Project Mayhem have a name. His name is that's Holt McCallany gives that line. Holt McCallany was my client. I worked with him for many years. I love him. I worked with him all the time because he has a great voice, and he does a lot of voice work. So, and it would always be when he got Mindhunter, I was like, this is awesome. Like, he really needed to get that exposure because he's so good, and he always plays a lower key character. Yeah.
Yeah, he's so awesome, and I'm someone who maybe didn't think wrestling was a real sport. This really convinced me that it is a real sport, and I'll just say, I I've heard that there are some factual inaccuracies in the Iron Claw. I've heard that they even cut out an entire Von Erich brother for the film. And I'll just say, not knowing very much about the true story maybe really helped me enjoy the film. But man, enjoy is not the right word. I was really, really moved by it. And it also has one of the best closing credits songs I've ever heard in my life. You gotta see the Iron Claw.
Okay, can't wait. It's on my list. I've wanted to watch it for a bit. I had no idea it would be number one on your sports movie list. Very much looking forward to it. All right, I'm going to finish off with my number one, and then we'll take some calls and see what we missed. I've got a list here that I'm not going to mention yet. See if you can see what's on my 6 to 10 on this.
I'm trying to guess what your number one is. I'm trying to guess what your number one.
Yeah.
Your number one. What
is
it?
Don't list off a whole bunch of movies. I'll say it's
No, I'm not
it's
going
older.
to. I'm not going to.
It's older. It's, I believe, 80s.
I don't even have a guess, but you know what? I have one guess. I think it's baseball.
It is basketball.
Basketball.
80s basketball.
Oh, I know what it is, but I'm not going to spoil it. Go ahead.
It is Hoosiers.
I knew
is
it.
My number one sports movie of all time. I mean, hard to break all these ties, but for me, you don't get more classic sports movie by definition than Hoosiers. If your rubric is a team goes through, to quote Wet Hot American Summer, a quirky training period where we feel like nothing's going to work out, and ultimately in the end emerges successful, that's Hoosiers. It also has great coaching story. I love the principles and the ethics and the what you learn from Gene Hackman's character, even as he is coming off of being, basically canceled in that time for hitting a player on his college team. So he was a coach who physically got a physical altercation with one of his own players and was banned from the NCAA. That's how his backstory begins, and this is his retribution story. And you can see he's still super intense. He's a very tough coach, but he also realizes the mistakes that he's made and he's trying to learn from them. He experiences regret. He shows regret for his past, but he knows that's part of who he is, and he has to try to fix that. And then you have possibly the greatest supporting character of all time in any sports movie in Dennis Hopper. Dennis Hopper's role is heartbreaking in that movie, but he plays it so well. It's just a really great story there. And then the classic sort of tale. So yeah. Anyway, love Hoosiers. I watch it pretty much.
I've never seen Hoosiers.
You've never seen Hoosiers? Oh, okay. Well,
I thought about watching it before we did this show because I thought if I watch it, because people say it's one of the all-time best, so I got to get to it.
All right, great. I shouldn't. I'll say no more then, except to say that. What was I just going to finish off with? It's just that it. I don't remember, but yeah. Anyway,
you'll think of it.
It's great. Yeah, you go ahead and watch that. I'm sorry I said as much as I did. I didn't realize you'd never seen Hoosiers. That's
no,
crazy,
no. It's absolutely fine. I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah,
we need to do a show about spoilers at some point because I don't believe in them.
I know. I actually wrote this down the other day on my phone. I was like, write a note to Jared that we need to do, and I already know the name of the segment, the spoiler war.
So we're
gonna do a little debate on that. All right, let's take a couple callers here. Let's see if you can figure out what's on my 6 to 10. Let's get K-Rob up here. K-Rob, who is helping us out in Ann Arbor this weekend. Hello. Hey, how you doing, buddy?
What's up?
Pretty good.
K-Rob was running merch for us in Ann Arbor. Thank you, buddy, for volunteering. You're the best. Appreciate you.
Oh, yeah.
Good on you, K-Rob.
My mom went to school at the high school that the Hoosiers is based off of.
Hickory? That's amazing.
It's actually called Milan. The
Milan?
real name is Milan. Yeah.
Wow.
It's like
very cool.
An hour drive from Indy. Just they have a museum and everything.
Oh, awesome. That's amazing.
Awesome.
All right. Add one movie to this list, no more than one, because I want to take a few callers and I don't want to spoil it for other people. Give me one great sports movie we didn't mention.
I did have to drop for a second. So was Remember the Titans mentioned?
No. Remember the Titans was not mentioned. It is not on my top 10. Just falls just outside of it. But yeah, great sports
Is that another
movie.
Hackman?
That is Denzel. That's
Denzel.
another Denzel.
Oh, that's a Denzel. I'm confused.
I also have a YouTube recommendation for it's some guy made this video of how accurately baseball is played in movies, and he ranks it from like 26 to 1.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
It's a great video. I highly recommend it.
That is great. That's awesome. All right, thanks for the movie, K-Rob. Appreciate you. Let's get somebody else up
K-Rob.
here. How about Min Drip? I don't remember if we've had Min Drip on before.
Hi, Min. I don't think we have.
Min, are you there?
Hello?
Hey, what's up, Min?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great.
It's going well.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Sure can.
Is this your first time calling in?
Yeah, first time caller, long time listener. Was there a moratorium against comedy movies in this?
No,
not at all.
Not at all.
All right. I was going through and I saw somebody post Happy Gilmore and it made me come back to Caddyshack.
Yeah.
Caddyshack. Yes.
There you go. Happy Gilmore was mentioned in chat and Discord chat. Phenomenal movie. And then,
probably one of my favorite Adam Sandler films.
Do you like Caddyshack more than Happy Gilmore?
I think Caddyshack is a bigger classic than Happy Gilmore is, although I think Happy Gilmore is maybe the best Adam Sandler verse sports.
I think you know what? Happy Gilmore might be up there for the best Adam Sandler movie. I think it's so funny.
Agreed.
Yeah,
it is amazingly hilarious. Thanks, Mindrip. Good call on the on Happy Gilmore, and that came out of chat, but on Caddyshack, of course, a lot of people.
It's about two sports: hockey and golf. Happy Gilmore.
Exactly. And I heard I'm going to mention this real quick. I heard somebody else mention it in chat as a joke. Does the cutting edge count? Hell yeah, the cutting edge counts.
Of course.
Love the cutting edge. And it is also classic, even though you're talking about a little bit of a love story. It's like, how are these two possibly going to compete at the Olympics against all these well-trained people, blah, 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 training period, etc. Great. Oh, all right. This is going to be an interesting caller. Who is this? Did somebody change their name? This might be a little bit creepy. Please welcome to the stage, Alt Jared. Jared. Who is
What's
this?
up, boys? I don't know who you think I am, but it's not... I'm just a random Canadian who said hello to you outside the venue.
Oh, nice. Hey, good to see you, Alt Jared.
Why
Thank
is
you
your name Alt Jared? Is your real name Jared?
No, because I'm an alternate Jared. I am a Jared. I
don't like
can fill in
Not
if
a fan.
you aren't here, but I am less crass. So
wow. Okay.
So we're already insulting the host. Go ahead.
Strong start. Insulting the host. Give us a movie.
Yeah, I gotta shout out Jokester because he's calling me the second string Jared. That's also fair.
Second string. Let's try third. Go ahead. What's your movie?
I'm gonna pitch a very Canadian television show instead of a movie. It's
Here we go.
Shorzy.
How did
He's
I know
already crossing
that,
over
How did
into my
I know
obscure
that
session.
the guy called Alt Jared would go, I actually have a cleverer answer. I'm going to do a television show instead of a movie. Go ahead, Alt Jared. What is your TV show?
You want my movie? It's Draft Day.
Okay.
Kevin Costner.
There's a draft day. Draft day.
That was making a sports deal before Moneyball. Okay.
It was.
Draft Day is before Moneyball. I'm pretty good with movie dates.
It is, right?
I'm just checking.
Okay.
Draft Day is after Moneyball. Moneyball
It's later
is
than
2011. It is a 2014 film.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Moneyball is older than I thought.
So far,
Okay.
Alt Jared not as good on movie dates.
I'm 0 for 3 here or something. What? I'm just losing.
Real
The
quick,
name
give us your
started
Canadian.
you behind.
Give us your Canadian.
What's your Canadian TV show? Letterkenny?
No, but from another Jared who also created Letterkenny, Shorzy. It is the story of a low-tier hockey player in the dregs of his career trying to get one more win for his team.
Oh, wow. Oh, so this is like a modern show with several seasons.
Absolutely. And
2022. Oh, my God. It is 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, 8.6 on IMDb. Looks like Alt Jared has an interesting selection here. I'm going to write this down.
Pretty interesting for a TV show, which is off topic.
It is sad and like so hard to watch sometimes because of the emotion put into the end of a career, the end of a person's era in athletics.
Cool. Alt Jared, thank you. Thanks for the call.
Jared, at least you didn't suggest one of the Planet of the Apes movies.
Pork Chop Sandoz, who is a fantastic illustrator who's done a lot of our bottle cap artwork, says it's the best show. Seriously. Wow. I'm going to have to check out this Shorzy. Still no one has mentioned any of my in my 6 to 10. If the callers can't get it, Jared, I'll let you take a shot.
Yeah, I want to hear.
Tedicus Rex, please, to the
Hi,
stage.
Tedicus.
Join us.
Oh, how's it going, fellas?
It's going great. How are you?
It's going well.
I'm great. I just wanted to say you guys and other actual players inspired me to start taking improv in my level 4 class shows here on Saturday this weekend. So thank you for that.
Cool.
Awesome. Congratulations, man. That's tough. That is tough. I can't say I could do the same. Great work.
All the way to level 4. That's commitment, man. That's awesome.
That's yeah. Well, I took also at Second City, I took improv for actors, and I took level 2 improv at Brooklyn Comedy Collective. So I've got the bug now. So
that's great.
Yeah, it's fun. It's certainly fun.
All right, give us
it definitely helps with your role playing.
Can you name one of these?
Sports movie I'm gonna go Radio with
Cuba Gooding Jr. and Ed Harris. Yes.
Yeah.
I never saw Radio. I never saw Radio.
Is Cuba Gooding Jr. someone who's differently abled in that film?
Yeah, and I think that might turn off some people just because it's kind of weird.
As they say, and pardon me for using this, but I'm just quoting, as they say in Tropic Thunder, never go full retard.
Yeah.
What is the sport of Radio? Is it football?
It's a football.
Football.
It's football.
Yeah.
I could see the box cover, but I never actually saw the movie. Okay. Ranking it up there. Radio.
What do you love about Radio?
Well, I come from a family that has people that with a developmental disability, so we kind of watched a lot of those movies, and a lot of people don't really think about how people with disabilities, have to struggle with fitting in and aren't accepted. So it's just kind of, it tugs at those heartstrings for families like that.
Kind of makes me look like a bad person for quoting Tropic Thunder, but thanks for your answer.
Well, no, but you got a good point because it's like a person that doesn't have a disability
playing someone differently abled. But you're saying as someone who comes from a family that's dealt with those issues, you don't mind that so much. You like this film.
Well, I did like the film just because, it tugs at those heartstrings. So
cool. All right, thanks, Tedicus. Appreciate it,
my friend.
I do gotta check out Radio. Because I love Cuba and I love Ed Harris. I always liked those movies in the 90s. I don't know why I never ended up seeing Radio. Chile. Chile? You there?
Yeah. Hey there, fellas.
Hey, what's going on?
Not much. I haven't heard mine yet, so I'm excited to share it with you guys.
Slapshot,
which I haven't seen, but I hear great things.
Yeah.
Classic hockey movie. Movie about hockey where nobody learns a thing. At the end of the film, nobody has gotten better. No characters have been developed. Nothing has been solved. It's just a hockey movie through and through. The Hanson brothers kick some ass. It's a great movie.
Awesome. Yeah. I also have never seen Slapshot, and I'm I've always wanted to see it. And I feel like it's been so long now and it's been so hyped up to me that, first of all, I'm nervous that I'm not going to like it because of how hyped it's been. But secondly, I'm I got to watch it in the perfect situation. To me, I'm I want to watch Slapshot projected on our wall in the office, with Skid. I'm assuming Skid is a big Slapshot fan.
I bet he is.
We'll have to find out. I want to see it in the perfect situation. Nate Dogg, still, I already mentioned one of my 5 there. So 6, 8, 9, and 10 have not been mentioned. Nate Dogg, can you find any of these movies? These are all, by the way, none of these are obscure. All right, Nate Dogg not there at the moment. Let's go to Ultimate Frisbee. Ultimate Frisbee is back. What's up, Ultimate?
Good. How are you?
Doing great. I'll give you a hint. It says your Ultimate Frisbee, Mike from Boston. I'll give you a hint. One of my movies is a bit of a Boston movie, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's a Boston movie. What do you got? What's your favorite? What's one of your favorites?
Okay. So my favorite, I was going between comedy and serious. I'm going to go with serious. Cinderella Man.
Oh, Cinderella Man. Paul Giamatti and the great Russell Crowe, who I love.
That's a great one. And who plays his love interest in that?
Is it Zellweger?
Yeah, Renee Zellweger. That's right. Yeah, loved that movie. I loved Cinderella Man. Good call. I actually
only got beat out of my list because I picked Rocky. That's why I didn't do Cinderella Man.
Yeah,
I think you went with the more popular, less good movie. To be honest,
the less good movie.
Wow, you're gonna say that about Rocky?
This motherfucker thinks that Rocky isn't as good as Cinderella Man.
Oh my God! Ultimate.
Russell Crowe, when he speaks, you can understand him. Stallone sounds like a mouthful of marbles.
How dare
that's your problem?
He struggles. Rocky struggles. He's a boxer. He's a fighter. He's not.
Rocky is one of the all-time great films. Period. Cinderella Man is one of the best boxing movies.
All right, that's fair. How did Cinderella Man
at least you're not saying the fighter with Mark Wahlberg?
How did Cinderella Man do in the old awards category? I feel like I feel like there might have been some awards for that movie.
Let's find out. But I will say it probably isn't considered a cinema classic that is on everyone's tongue with a character that is a household name. Let's see.
I believe it was.
Gosh, independent films can be good too. Weird.
It was
Cinderella Man. Ron Howard.
Yeah, Ron Howard. It was nominated for Best Actor in a Performance in a Supporting Role, Paul Giamatti. Nominated for Best Film Editing and Best Makeup. Okay, so
it won a Critics' Choice Award for Paul Giamatti.
Thank you, Ultimate, for the Cinderella Man. Good point. However, it did not win Best Picture like Rocky did. Best Picture of all movies of the year.
Ultimate Frisbee giving ultimate bad takes.
Ultimate bad takes.
Yeah.
All right, let's get Chasm up here. Chasm, who I met also this weekend on tour. Chasm, buddy, are you there? You've had your, you called in a while ago. Sorry we haven't gotten to you yet. If you're not there, I'll just, there you are.
Oh, hey, sorry.
Hey,
I'm just running out of the building. It's a giant security cage. All right. Hopefully you can hear me.
We can hear you.
All right, perfect. Number one movie I'd say, serious-wise, is probably going to be the 70s Longest Yard.
Yes.
Longest Yard.
Yes, I've heard great things. I haven't seen
movie,
it.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the prison football movie where the ex-football star gets arrested for something. And, well, I mean, yeah, it's a really good movie, really serious. There's the 2005 remake with Adam Sandler that's also not too bad, but I don't think it beats Happy Gilmore.
Well, I'm on your side here because you've just picked another Burt Reynolds movie, one of the all-time greats.
The Stash.
And you also picked a movie directed by Robert Aldrich, who's directed all kinds of incredible movies, including Whatever Happened to Baby Jane and The Dirty Dozen. So
love The Dirty Dozen. I need to see The Longest Yard. I never saw it. And thanks for calling in,
I need
Chasm.
to see it too.
Yeah.
I'm writing it down. I wrote down Days of Thunder, Hoosiers, and now I'm writing down The Longest Yard. I still haven't seen it.
Man, I've written down a bunch. I've written down Air, which I did see, but only saw once. Semi-Tough, Blackberry, The Iron Claw, Slapshot, The Longest Yard. I mean, so much to get to. Do we have to keep this show moving? I mean,
I think we do. Can I have a couple of your honorable mentions, Joe, before we go on?
Honorable mentions. I'll go down the list. Jen with two N's just nailed my Boston movie. In at number 10 is The Fighter. Mark Wahlberg and Christian Bale. That means Christian Bale appears twice.
Not you, and not you.
I
I'm
really
the one
enjoyed
who's
that
fighting.
Movie. So that was another fighter movie, but it got knocked down the list a bit for me. Going back up from there, number 9 is Rudy for me. Loved Rudy.
Yep.
Kind of grew up on Rudy. Number 8, God, I'll love to try to watch it every spring. It's not Moneyball for me, as I've gotten to it's kind of a different way of appreciating movies. But man, when I was a teenager and straight up through in my 20s, Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams, sure, yeah,
comes in at number 8, and then the only one left for me besides Seabiscuit, which I mentioned, is a baseball movie. Another baseball movie based loosely on a true story. Man, I'm trying to think of how to give you clues on this without big movie, major film. Major stars in it. No, not The Natural. I actually can't. If I saw The Natural, I don't remember it. So I got to rewatch The Natural.
It's the one where he hits the lights and the sparks come down. Anyway, go ahead.
This movie is major, huge release, major stars all over it, including a huge pop star at the time. is in it. Huge pop music star is in it.
I don't know.
We're going to go with A League of Their Own.
Of course.
A League of Their Own. Love
of course.
A League of Their Own. Tom
That's
Hanks,
what my wife
Gina
said.
Davis. Sorry, go ahead.
That's what my wife said when I told her I was ranking sports movies. She was like, A League of Their Own. And I was like, Kara, I can't do that one because it's about women.
Why don't you do that on your lady cast?
Yeah, take it to your lady list.
Love League of Their Own. Actually, League of Their Own was number 6, so it was really hard. I could have easily just put it over Ford versus Ferrari, but I was trying to show a little bit of the themes I loved in Ford versus Ferrari and all the shooting and the modernization of the, just to give one modern sports movie. But yeah, God, I love League of Their Own.
All right. We have spent so much time on our first two topics, which is our way.
That's our way.
Before the chat starts screaming, we're not going to have enough time. Let's move on to my obscure obsession. What is something you'd like to tell us about that no one has ever heard of? And I really had to rack my brain to come up with one for myself, and I don't think I have managed to come up with something no one has ever heard of. And I also wasn't sure exactly, whether it's not that you're picking a whole genre. You're probably picking a specific thing, a specific TV show or a specific book series, right? Maybe a TTRPG.
This is obviously this is the first time we're doing this. We're learning as we go here. This is very loose how we're going to interpret this. I don't think it has to be something no one has ever heard of, though that would be amazing. And I do think it can be a genre that is not as popular as several other genres. In fact, I'd like to give the floor to our producer and good buddy McD for a second here. Just McD has an example because he mentioned this after a show. We were having a beer after a show on the road, and he talked about a genre he's into that, of course, people have heard of. I just had no idea the extent of it, and he's definitely obsessed with it because he consumes so much of it. McD, give us a brief overview of an example of what my obscure obsession would be.
Gladly, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing great, buddy. Good to hear you.
Great. So what I'm into, and have been for a little while now, is military zombie fiction.
Yes.
Military zombie fiction. So World War Z? Wait, is that military? No.
That'd probably be the most popular example, right? Maybe.
I mean, the book of World War Z is not really that. I mean, have you guys ever read that book? It's all written as like diary entries from survivors. No. What we're talking about is which it's not even really a term, apparently, says people in special forces, but like tier 1 operators, like against the world, right? Where it's just like this band
of special forces people are like, that's not a thing.
That's not really a term, apparently. But, just like badass dudes, one hot scientist, probably a dog. There's probably a dog. There's one series where the dog is also a tier 1 operator, and he the dog has whole chapters where it's from the dog's point of view, and he's just also badass and on mission at all times.
So special forces teams after the zombie apocalypse.
Correct.
Right?
Like,
so this is a zombie apocalypse with highly trained, well-armed individuals. Kind of thing, and
we're talking about novel series.
We are talking about novels, novella series. There's a lot of that on Kindle Unlimited.
And are there multiple series by different authors?
Oh yeah. Oh
cool.
Goodness. Yeah. Once you read one, Kindle Unlimited will just keep giving them to you. They'll be like, you like that trash?
I'm going to read Arisen. You gave me that one.
Arisen is fantastic. Arisen is one of the real good ones.
Rodith in Discord chat said Black Tide Rising.
Oh yeah, Black Tide Rising.
Is that military zombie fiction? All right, there you go, Rodith.
Black Tide Rising. Pretty good.
Anyway, there's an example. There's an example of what we're talking about.
That's a great one.
Come on up here and tell us. Acting Gray has an obscure obsession. And by the way, we are going to run you down if it's not obscure. Jared will eviscerate you.
Can you hear me?
Yourself.
I will.
We got you. What's going on, Acting?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for taking my call.
Our pleasure. What is your obscure obsession?
So it's actually ties into a little bit to the original topic, but are you familiar with the term of second circle?
No.
So it's a kind of it's a concept around the idea of being present, like in life. So, and it's I as you can probably infer from my handle, I'm an actor. I teach acting at university, so I'm really interested in how to develop and teach presence, because you can't really teach someone how to be like a good performer necessarily, but you can teach them how to be fully engaged and present, open, listening, which is all tied into what I think makes a good role player. So there's this book called Second Circle by this person named Patsy Rodenberg. She's a kind of well-regarded voice and speech teacher from the UK. So that's kind of what I've been really kind of investigating for the last 6 months since I started teaching university. So I just like really took a deep dive on like how to teach somebody to be a good listener, how to be a good listener myself, how to be fully engaged. And so there's Second Circle, which is presence.
How to use.
So wait, I just want to be clear. I just want to be clear, Joe. We asked for an obscure pop culture obsession.
Well, I don't think we ever said pop culture.
Yeah, you never said pop culture.
That's true. We never said
this
that.
This is an obscure
right,
obsession. It is a book from 2008 called The Second Circle: How to Use Positive Energy for Success in Every Situation. Interesting. Yeah. Focusing in on teaching people how to listen, how to be present.
I use negativity for mediocrity in every situation.
and that's why we love you.
To great success. All right, thank you, acting. Like we said, we're short on time, so we want to get as many weird obsessions in here as we can. I mean, that's pretty obscure. But that was obscure. Not very pop culture. That was obscure.
That was an acting method. So yeah, pretty obscure.
Pretty obscure.
Didn't think we were going to get any acting methods.
All right, let's go to Kill Torres. Kill, are you there?
What's up?
Hey, Kill, do you have you got an obscure obsession for us? Teach us.
It's becoming less obscure now.
Okay.
It's an Australian psychedelic rock band called King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
I haven't heard of King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
If you've never heard of them, you gotta check out some of their stuff. They do crazy shit.
Okay, I'm on this website right now.
Rules. This dude's right.
Oh,
he's on.
King yes.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
All their albums are like different genres. It's fantastic.
Have you seen them
King
live?
Gizzard and the
live.
Oh yeah, I'm actually going out in a few weeks to go see them in at Bonnaroo.
Oh, sick. Great.
Oh my God. So I have the link to their website. Their artwork is dope. King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. Thank you, Kill Torres. I'm
going to listen.
That is a successful call in the obscure obsession.
I love psychedelic music, so I'm going to listen.
Oh, that's awesome. Damon Evox. What's your obscure obsession?
What's going on, guys?
What's up?
All right, so my obscure obsession is called Tuvan throat singing.
Tuvan.
Are you familiar with? Yeah, so Mongolian throat singing. And the reason that it's in pop culture is it's all throughout the new Dune movie.
Oh.
So
you know what? I think that's a great answer, but I have heard of Tuvan throat singing.
That makes you the weirdo.
I had a player at an at-home Pathfinder game do a bard whose specialty was Tuvan throat singing.
Well, I can do it for you guys if you'd like right now.
Yes,
so
we do.
Let's hear an example, please.
Mm-hmm. So, wait. You gotta do that. Kind of get
down. That is in Dune. That sounded like it was straight out of Dune.
We're going to keep you on the line to just continue doing that while we take other calls.
Yeah, if only the constant limiter and compressor on Discord wouldn't mute you whenever anyone else talks. We would just love to have that droning tone in the background of our show to increase the suspenseful vibes.
It makes a nice mood, you know?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Do you listen to it while you're like working on bills at home or?
Oh, absolutely. The Who as the metal band that institutes Mongolian throat singing into their music. And then I just have a droning noise to keep, the voices away. So that that helps me out too.
Nice.
I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try it while I'm working on my GM prep. I'm gonna turn on some Tuvan throat singing.
Did you just say
There
the name?
you go.
Did you just say the name of an actual band?
Yes, it's the Who, the HU. They're a Mongolian metal band, and they are awesome.
Okay, dude.
Nice.
This is what I'm talking about. Yes, it's what I need in my life. Mongolian metal band. Nice. All right, let's do one more. We'll do one more.
One more.
Let's go with who had their thing as soon as Blueberry. Blueberry, did you have an obscure obsession, or was this from an earlier segment? I feel like you raised your hand at the obscure obsession.
Yes, I was kind of waiting for that, and now I kind of feel bad that it's not really pop culture-y, and it's something that everybody's heard of but never think about.
Okay. Go ahead. We'll let Jared make fun of you. Go ahead.
The ins and outs of food manufacturing is just fascinating to me. The way that it goes from being pre-made to on the shelves. One of my famous facts is NASA actually improved how we, and it still is today, how food safety works in a manufacturing setting.
Huh.
And I was for about 5 years a food quality technician. And it's just fascinating, all the little bits and pieces that go into making the food that's on the shelves.
Well, how do you learn about this? Is this like through documentaries, or
how do you get that job?
How do you learn?
You can actually go to school to become a food scientist. That specializes in. There's various different fields. There's a such thing as an ice cream scientist, as well too.
Huh.
Let's see what else.
I think that's what my 6-year-old told me she wants to be when she grows up.
Hey, if she has
I want to be
palate,
an ice cream scientist.
If she has a palate and wants to study how crystalline features happen in like certain mixtures of dairy products, go have at it. Come to my neck in the woods. Got tons of creameries, Michigan
McD just told us that Penn State has an ice cream science program.
Wow.
Yep.
I don't know if he's joking.
Probably not.
And so I worked at a Heinz factory for many years, and I could still pick up Heinz vinegar bottle and actually read the code that they put on it. And with a little bit of buffering, I can tell you which factory that bottle of vinegar was produced from, what shift, what month, and what time.
Wow.
Well, I gotta say, that is very obscure.
You won me over, Blueberry, by the end. Yes, I've heard of food, but I certainly never think of it this way.
Yes, I've certainly never heard of the factory code on the back of a bottle of vinegar.
Yeah, and how it breaks down and stuff. And oh man, I have some interesting workplace accidents and times where we've had to pretty much destroy product because, people aren't that great. But something to bring it to pop culture a little bit is the movie New in Town. Let's see. I think it's Jane Marston and Renee Zellweger. That movie, as someone who's obsessed about food safety and food quality, pisses me the hell off. Because Renee Zellweger, she walks into that factory with high heels in open grading. I'm like, no. And I see so many scenes where they're around food product. I'm like, wear your hair nuts. Like, yeah.
Wow.
So,
all right, Blueberry,
yeah.
Thank you so much. You definitely watch movies with a different eye than I do. That's amazing.
Blueberry, the only person I know who hate watches the 2009 rom-com New in Town.
That's great. God, that is so funny. I like to watch it and be like, I can't even watch this. They're being unsafe.
Where are your hair nets?
All right, I'm going to get one more in. One more. We'll try one more, and then we got to go fast. Can Misery.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you. What's your obscure obsession?
All right.
Fast.
Okay. My obscure obsession is Richard Marchenko novels and novels of that type. Like they're the sort of like maximalist, like special forces story, but is also told a little bit tongue in cheek, where he like cans himself on a rope ladder and stuff like that. So as somebody who spent time in the military, it's like that super macho stuff combined with the you just fucked it up. Just really, I find it absolutely hilarious.
This is Richard Marchenko.
Richard
Marchenko. He has an autobiography. He's written serious stuff. He was actually a SEAL team commander, and then has published like 14 books or whatever afterwards, where he goes on various adventures.
So you're saying it's like ultra macho, like SEAL team fiction, but that also he kind of gets into how the ops go sideways?
A little bit, yeah. It's a chunk of it is like that bit in when you do anything in real life, like you have this plan, you're going to do a thing, and then you miss. Like he's got a ponytail, so he's like he forgets about it, and it gets caught in something, and then he gets punched in the face.
So wait, you keep saying he. Are all of these books like Richard Marchenko
he's
writing in first
inserted
person?
himself as the hero of all these books. So basically the premise is like he is retired from the Navy SEALs, and yet the government keeps calling him to save the day.
Got it.
Wow, that sounds awesome. I'm looking up his Wikipedia, and it says that he became an author, but it doesn't go deep into his books. It goes more into like at least the Wikipedia, more into his life as like a SEAL team member. So that's amazing.
He had a real career before he wrote these books.
He's also
doing red cell ops and stuff like that. But
and he also passed away in 2021 at 81 years old. So he's older than I was imagining. So yeah, the bulk of these books were written when? In like the 80s?
No, some of them go back to like early 80s, but the most recent book is like 2014.
Okay.
Oh, really? Okay.
So he wrote like 14 books from the 80s through the 2010s. Okay. All right, cool, Camp Misery. That was a good one. That
sounds
some
good.
obscure
That's
shit.
a good one.
Yeah.
Those were obscure. We got to do this again.
Yeah, we do. That was really fun. We're going to come back for more of your guys' obscure obsessions because I'm learning shit today, man. I can't wait to check out King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. I'll tell you that much. I also didn't know that dope-ass like sound is all I could describe it as in Dune was called Tuvan throat singing. I didn't know that was a thing. And now I'm going to check out this Mongolian metal band. All right, I'm down.
The Who.
Let's move on. Yeah, The Who.
Let's move on.
The HU.
Let me have your travel log, my friend. I can't wait to hear.
Travel log, Speedy Edition. So we went to Ann Arbor, Michigan, a place that I had been many, many, many years ago. I just kind of passed through because when I was in college, I had to do something in Ypsilanti at Eastern Michigan University, and that is about 6 miles from Ann Arbor. So I had passed through the town, but I hadn't been back for 20 plus years, and so this was a great chance to go back there. Great downtown, great little town, and multiple gaming stores here, but I hit up a gaming store in Ann Arbor that I'm excited to share with you guys. It was called the Sylvan Factory. The Sylvan Factory, relatively new. I think it's been open like 3 years or something like that.
Okay.
And I went with Skid, Matthew, Sydney, and Kate. All of us, after our little lunch, walked over to this game store. Just to be like, hey, we love going to a game store in a different city. We stroll in. The store is awesome. It's like beautiful and large and it's not overwhelming with like stacks and stacks and stacks of board games and comics and collectibles and toys. It was kind of like open, spread out, very choice selections of everything. Not everything in the world, but choice selections. And then 60% of the store was just tables and like gorgeously maintained tables with beautiful red tablecloths. It looked very themed. Everything was very like color coordinated. It just looked like a really well taken care of place. Their board game selection was like so good. They just basically kept. They didn't have all the board games in the world, but the ones they did show were like obscure and awesome board games. So it was really like you knew whoever ran the place knew what they were doing. The guy who ran the place, his name is Todd Maddock, was there, and it was just him. He was just in there working behind the counter, and when we walked in, there were no other customers. It was awesome. So we got the face-to-face treatment. He talked us through like so many fun things, including me asking about Star Wars Unlimited. which Rob Kirkovich is way into. And I saw a big Star Wars display there. And Matthew and I were like, should we get into this? So we start talking to him about it. The owner, Todd Maddock, very nice guy. And he goes into like all of the schedule of this game store. And it was amazing, dude. Like they play Magic in there 5 nights a week.
Wow.
And each night is different. Like there's Commander Night, there's Draft Night, there's like we were talking about last week, like learning all the different magics. He's like, it just fills the place every night. But then they have a TTRPG night they sprinkle in there.
Awesome.
And they have a little Star Wars Unlimited night. So we start talking Star Wars Unlimited. And I ended up buying my first Star Wars Unlimited deck. Oh no, Boba Fett.
Yes.
I took a picture of it and sent it to Rob Kirkovich and was like, should I buy this? And he's like, absolutely. And so Matthew bought a Han Solo deck. I bought a Boba Fett deck. And Skid bought a bunch of booster packs. So we were ready to get in the game. And then I reached over and I grabbed, so we haven't played it yet. We're going to play it in Vegas. And then I grabbed, have you heard of this one? The Crew? Have you heard of The Crew yet? Okay, so I'll bring it back up in a second. The Crew is an awesome trick-taking, cooperative, like fun game among friends. 4 players generally, and it's a trick-taking card game where you're working together to complete missions. It's space-themed, but it's just a card game. You play it like you play cards, and I don't need to get into all the mechanics. This is The Crew Family Adventure. It's kind of like Swiss Family Robinson, and they simplify the rules for 8 and up. So
Awesome.
You can play with 8-year-olds. It says 15-minute playtime. There are 35 missions for survival on the island. I was like, this looks great.
That
so I picked
sounds
this up.
awesome.
Yeah. So I'm so excited
you can play
to
with
play
your
with
kids.
my kids. Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be really fun.
Yeah, it's going to be great. So that was awesome. Oh, and so I buy the Boba Fett pack and The Crew, and then I'm like, thank you, signing off. Appreciate you. And we're about to leave, and he asks us about what we, it comes up that we're doing a show in town. We're like, you should come by. We're doing a Pathfinder show. He's like, holy crap, that's awesome. He talks about how his 18-year-old twins are starting to cut out their Magic time because it's cutting too much into their TTRPG play. He's like, they're getting way more into TTRPGs than Magic. And he was like, next time you guys are in town, let me know. Like, I will paper this place with flyers for you and just hand them out to everybody. Just really well-run business by this dude. And as we were leaving, he just goes, wait a minute. And he reached under the counter and he just hands this across to me. This don't be fooled by the box. This is not a Magic box. It is just filled with Star Wars Unlimited common and uncommon cards. He just hands it over to me. There's no rares in here or anything, but he's like, I want to give this to people that want to get started on Star Wars. Just take it. He's like, we hand out common and uncommons to people from time to time. He's like, just take the whole box. You could build more decks with it and get more of your friends playing. Just a real cool game store.
All
vibe,
right, fine, Joe. I'll buy a Star Wars Unlimited deck.
Yes! And we're going to have Rob teach us in Vegas, and we'll learn how to play.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And let's just, the Sylvan Factory, Ann Arbor, Michigan.
The Sylvan Factory, Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Todd Maddock? Is it with Todd Maddock was the guy's name?
Todd. TODD-MADDOCK. Todd Maddock.
Go check it out if you're in Ann Arbor. And I think I might be going to, I'm not positive, I might be going to Ann Arbor for stand-up this year. So I'm going to go to the Sylvan Factory.
Yeah, go to the Sylvan Factory. Anyway, terrific game store. So let's move on to your GM Fiat. Let's
close it out with a GM Fiat. As always, with these little editorials, I encourage you to get on the Discord and argue with me later. Let's get into it. Let me set the table for you. I'm the GM. I've bought the rule book for the game we're going to play. I've read it. I've learned the rules. I've prepared an adventure. And then I've gotten 4 adults with busy schedules to agree to a night for us to play the game. We have 4 hours. If we're lucky, we have 4 hours to play the game. And then, the day of the game, the text goes out. Hey guys, what food are we ordering? I am here to make an unpopular, but I think very reasonable proposal. Can we stop doing dinner when we're playing role-playing games?
Oh, interesting.
First, everyone has to decide where to order from. That's 70 texts. Okay? Then everybody has to send in their order. And don't think, as the GM, I notice everyone is way more engaged in the food process than when I sent messages about the game. The guy I had to email 5 times to get to agree to a date instantly messages back that he's having the pad key out. Instantly. Then there's the food delivery. I arrive ready to play. Sometimes the food arrives at the beginning of the night, in which case I have to wait an hour for everyone to eat before we can start, meaning we now have 3 hours to play. But more often, Joe, the food arrives late. So after I've gotten everyone's attention, explained the rules, set the scene, and started the story, just as we're about to get rolling, the doorbell rings. And suddenly, the game is completely forgotten, so people can spend 15 minutes just handing out the food. I had egg rolls. These are spring rolls. Did you have spring rolls? No, these are egg rolls. Now everybody puts their 5-course dinner down on the table we're playing on and gets sauce on my maps and character sheets. They push all the books and miniatures off the table because we can forget about that shit until an hour from now. Sometimes people try to eat a full meal while they're playing. I ask a player what their character is doing, and they have no idea what's happening because their attention was fully fixated on orange chicken. Sometimes we're in the middle of a role-playing scene, and someone is trying to seduce the Duke with noodles hanging out of their mouth. An hour later, as people are finishing their food, suddenly one of the players goes, "Okay, who wants dessert?" And the process starts again. Listen, guys, let's just have dinner, okay? Why are we letting the game get in the way of dinner? You're my friends. I like having dinner with you. Let's just do that instead. Why doesn't one of you schedule that? And you can do all the work to make the dinner happen. Kind of like how I did all the work to make this game happen. You want to have dinner? Don't let me and my stupid game stand in your way. Oh, and here's a wild idea. Why don't you fucking eat before you come like a fucking adult? If I invited you to play basketball, you wouldn't eat a sandwich while we were playing. You wouldn't bring lasagna on a hike. You wouldn't come to watch my improv team perform with falafel in your mouth. So why is dinner part of RPGs? And before chat launches into a long string of, but wait, no, what did, of course, potato chips and soda are fine. I'm talking about dinner, but no alcohol, because everyone already makes horrible decisions as players before you even add alcohol. So please, no alcohol. Okay, that's it. Call me and let's have dinner sometime.
Well done. Well said.
Thank you.
Said. I mean, I got to admit, when you started off, I was like, I don't know, man. I love a little snack at the game table. But yeah, the whole game stops. Things get pushed around. Everybody focusing on. Yeah, it is. No, you only have.
I'm right about this.
I can't believe you even say there's 4 hours. I mean, that is a dream. Yeah. Typically, with working adults with families, you're like 2 to 3 hours you can get in an evening on a good one. And so, you don't want to fill that up with eating.
An hour less if food is being eaten. You get an hour less if there's food.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Good point.
I'm right about this.
I'm right
about usual. I'm right.
Write in on YouTube, write in on Discord. Let us know. Is Jared right about this? Should dinner be a part of a less than 6 hour RPG session? Write in, let us know your thoughts, buddy. Thank you so much. Another really fun.
Thank you, callers.
I want to give people a heads up as we're on the way out here. Next week we are good to go, but the week after that we're going to Vegas, baby.
Oh, that's
the 10-year anniversary of the Glass Cannon podcast is upon us, and as a result, at that time we will not have a Glass Cannon radio that week.
Yep.
So June 11th, there will not be a Glass Cannon radio. So prepare yourselves emotionally, mentally for that.
We'll come back stoked from Vegas and tell you all about it if you didn't get
we'll
to
come back with a nice Vegas segment on the 18th. We're already talking about fun stuff we're going to do in that episode, including a possible guest. I'm very excited for that one. We'll see if we can nail that down by next week, June 4th, when we return. So that's it for us this week. Thanks, everybody. You guys are the best. I hope you have a wonderful week and weekend, and we'll see you next time. Take it easy, everybody.
Bye. Bye-bye.